So hi, Caitlin, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well.
I'm so happy to see you today. For the people who don't know us, I would just quickly present us. So I'm Thomas Roman. I'm the co-director of IFE programs. And so you, Caitlin Biner, and you did the
Mhm.
program in Asturias in Spanish last fall of 2019. And
Mhm.
so we thought, because of present situation in Europe and the States, that it might be interesting for prospect students to get the perspective of an alum from the program. And so thank you so much for accepting to have that conversation with me and with IFE. So basically, we want to know how, your semester in Spain went, addressing, the different components of it. So starting maybe with your goals, could you tell us why you picked the FSI program in Asturias? What were your goals for it, and how it went, basically?
Mhm. Immediately, I was drawn to the program because it was non-traditional. It wasn't something where I was just going abroad. I was going to party, go to a few classes. That was it. It was meant for me to get a cultural experience, to live with a family, to have work experience. It wasn't going to be easy, and I knew that going in. It really was going to test my limits. It was going to push my language capabilities, and that's what I wanted. I wanted something that would force me to move forward, force me to grow, force me to learn. And IFE was exactly what I needed.
Great. And so, well, as people usually know, this semester-long program is language-based. Everything is in Spanish. And the core of the program is an internship, a full-time internship, 3 months long. So could you tell us how it went for you, where you were placed and how it went?
So I was placed at the local university called Universidad de Oviedo, and I was working with the research team to basically study like risks within financial institutions, so banks and insurance companies, all that stuff. And it was perfect in my opinion. I think they did a great job placing me there because I study business, international business, and so this gave me the chance to look at the economy in an international level, to have a whole global perspective. And my thesis was based off my internship experience, and it was one of my favorite things I did there because I did a lot of like self research, and I got to mold my internship program to what I wanted it to be. And it was an awesome experience, and it was great to have on my resume because I'm currently actually in a new job. I just started, and I got it, a lot of it because of IFE. My experience with IFE was a great talking point.
Oh, so you mentioned your experience with your future boss.
Yes, yes, they were
Oh,
so excited. They saw my resume and they're like, "What was this? Why were you in Spain?"
great. And that's usually what IFE alums
Mhm.
comment on the fact that, applying for a job or for a master degree, they realize that this experience and what it's about is a plus, in comparison with other
Mhm.
very good applicants who didn't go to study
Yeah.
abroad and have that sort of experience. So that's very great that you had that sort of
Mhm. It's like a
experience
competitive
afterwards.
competitive edge, I guess you could say. It definitely makes you stand out as a candidate.
Excellent. So you mentioned your research. That's the other
Mhm.
part of the semester. We ask all
Mhm.
students to fulfill a 30 pages long paper in Spanish on a topic linked to the internship. So in your case, since you were interning with a research team, the
Mhm.
topic was even more linked to your daily
Yeah.
work. Could you elaborate on that? How did you work with your colleagues? What were the challenges you faced during that research
Mhm.
with them?
It was my thesis really. I started very early on my thesis because my supervisors were professors, so they took me to the library. They gave me like a pile of 30 books, and they were like, "Here's some resources." And so with my colleagues, I was able to really clarify any questions I had because they were experts in the material. And along the way, my thesis got shaped and molded. Originally, it was one thing, and it changed to another. But overall, it always stayed related to my research topic and the whole goal of the research team, which was the risks within financial institutions. And so what I did, instead of just like summing up what the risks are, I went and I looked on how to mitigate them, like what governments can do to lower the risks within financial institutions. And so even though that wasn't what my internship was about, I took the time and like applied it to my thesis.
Wonderful. And I remember because I attended the oral presentation for your research a month before the submission of it, and I vividly remember how impressed I was with the technicality of it, but also the fact that you presented it in Spanish so well. So, well, congratulations. I already congratulated you on that, but still, it was a wonderful job.
Yeah, my supervisor worked very closely with me on my presentations and everything, and the final product of my thesis, he had me put in some drafts for him, and he would correct them. Not my grammar, but just the overall concept. So that was very, very helpful.
Excellent. What about the classes? The program always starts with a 5-6 weeks long preparation session, because we feel we need that time and space to prepare the students for their internships. So what could you say about that period of time starting at the start of the program?
I loved the classes. At first, it was a little intimidating, especially because the style of teaching is different between like the United States and Europe. But I think it was one of the most useful parts of the program was getting the background and the history of the area and the country as a whole, because in conversation, I had more of an understanding of like why people view things the way they do, because it gave you the background of their culture, the context of how they grew up, and basically the times that they experienced, which were way different than anything I knew. I had no historical context of Spain, really. And so the classes are very useful for that. In my internship, especially like my economics class, gave me a lot of technical terminology, which would have been difficult for me to get on my own. And in my day-to-day life, our Asturian class that we took with Fanny, really helped me to be able to communicate better, to understand like the local colloquialisms and everything like that. So the classes were an amazing foundation. Not only was it very useful with getting used to talking in Spanish all the time, listening to Spanish, but it also gave me cultural context and background into the environments I was entering.
Yeah, because there is that workshop on local history and language, because Asturias has its own language aside from Spanish. So yeah, you had that workshop with Fanny.
Push Asturias! Push Asturias!
Okay.
What about social life? So the housing situation and your free time in Gijón, how did it go?
My host family was incredible. They fully immersed me in their lifestyle. I went to the kids' sports games, their music concerts. I went on family reunions, vacations, everything. And they really were the backbone. I felt safe coming home at night. If I ever had a question, my family was there, and they would hold my hand along the entire way if I needed it. With the classes, they were non-traditional, so I didn't get a lot of interaction with like Spanish local university students, which if there was anything that would be a concern would be that, because you do have to build your own social life. But at the end of the day, I think that made me stronger. I had friends in the local area from going out on the weekends with my other study abroad peers. And I actually was dating someone while I was there, which really helped me to acclimate. So still a good friend, not dating anymore. Distance is a problem. But you really get to take your time after work, after classes, and on the weekends to meet people. It took me a few weeks to be comfortable to talk to people, to meet them, but there's a lot of opportunity, and you just have to go for it and have humility and find what you want to do and go and do it.
Good. What about time management? Because as you said, that this is not a traditional study abroad semester. With the classes, the research, the internship, well, your weeks are quite full. Did you manage to, to enjoy your free time and, the components of the semester the way you thought you could, or how did it go for you in that regard?
For me, it worked out pretty well, but because we did the phasing in of classes first, and then we brought in the internship experience, you have a few days of adjustment with everything, which is very useful. I flew over a few days early before the program just so I could have time to recuperate, but it does get tiring. Sometimes you'd sit down and be like, I need a minute. Just give me 1 minute. Let me recenter, get back in the mode, which you need to do in any context. But for me, it was a little difficult socially because I had to take a bus to and from my internship for an hour each day.
Because the internship was in the other city, the city of Oviedo, so it's a 20 minutes ride, more or less 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it took a little bit of my day out. But I didn't find a huge issue. If anything, just socially, like taking the time away from my thesis because I was so like concentrated on that. It's just making the time yourself. You have to definitely find your own way of handling it and blocking off your times. I'm gonna go have fun at this time. I'm gonna sit down at a cafe and type at this time. It definitely is. You're in charge of yourself while you're there.
Mm-hmm. What about support? Speaking of, facilitating the adapting phase for the internship and the program as a whole. How did you feel about our local coordinator, the IFE staff in general, the family, and anyone involved with the semester?
I felt comfortable going to anybody involved in the entire program. My local coordinator, Lorena, she was fantastic. She could tell if you were like a little sad or if you needed just to talk for a minute, and she'd reach out to you. You, of course, were there every couple of weeks, and you made things a little easier, just talking it through, just checking in. There was never a moment where I felt like I was unsupported while I was there. There was one day I was on vacation with my family and I got overwhelmed with homesickness and I ended up actually crying. And they just stood there and they hugged me, and even my host family, I felt completely comfortable having them to give me that support, to give me that comfort, because it is overwhelming at times.
Yeah,
but you get a lot of contacts and you get people that you can turn to at any minute of the day.
Okay. And so maybe to just end that interview, what advice would you give to future IFE students doing that program in Asturias? What would be the best tip you could give them?
Don't be afraid. I was so afraid to speak and to make mistakes and to look silly. You got to get over that. You really do, because you won't grow until you do that. So just have humility, take a few risks and get out of your comfort zone. Also ask your study abroad office about scholarships. I did that and that was really helpful. I was able to take a vacation weekend and really like get outside of Asturias and explore even further the country and the culture. But just advocate for yourself. Don't be embarrassed and just have fun.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Caitlin. And I hope to see you soon, either in Spain or the US. As soon as we can fly again, I hope we will meet again.
We will.
For sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.